I remember the last time I went to the hairdressers, I saw a woman, a client that was leaving. She had her hair beautifully done, nice little curls, and I just couldn't help myself and I said, "Wow, you look so great." To which she replied, "Yeah, it's a good hairdresser." Perhaps it's a cultural thing, but you've probably noticed that people, and women I guess especially, have a problem with accepting compliments, with accepting good words, as if it were a noble thing to do to be self-deprecating, to reject any good words that we hear. And even though we might call ourselves believers, we might proclaim the doctrine of faith, there is this kind of a double standard that calls us to diminish everything that's good in us, to refuse to see it, as if being afraid that if we do appreciate it, it would somehow be a sign of pride, narcissism, a very popular word these days, something that we should avoid. I wonder what's the first thing that springs to your mind when you say Christianity. Unfortunately, for very many people, the first thing that they think about is pain, suffering, being somehow limited in terms of what you can do in life, perhaps acting a bit weird, not eating chocolate in the period between March and April, or being preachy and self-righteous. Well, we can't do much about bad press, but what we can do is we can reject this warped notion of Christianity. If it is to be about love, life and healing, then let it be about love, life and healing, and if not, perhaps that's not the true faith. Now, it doesn't mean that only healthy, happy people who have secure attachment and no disorders can be Christians, and it doesn't mean that we should ignore the pain, not talk about it, or somehow diminish the importance of it, or perhaps even proclaim some prosperity gospel. But in general, if you are a Christian, if you follow this way, in time, you should be able to notice some change in a positive direction. And the change in a positive direction doesn't necessarily mean you'll have more positive or pleasant feelings or emotions. It may feel the other way around. You may suddenly feel that all your life is turned upside down. Maybe some relationships got worse. Perhaps there is some crisis in your life. But in general, the idea is that we become more and more whole, open, loving. And the more healing we receive, the more we are called to step outside, to share that with others. Because at different stages, we have different coping mechanisms, we have different problems, but after we've overcome them, we are able to pass this knowledge, this experience to others. In this way, there is more love in the world. We are able to show them that this is possible. It was possible in our case, then why not in their case? This Sunday we are meditating John 20 verses 19 to 31. On the evening of that first day of the week, when the disciples were together with the doors locked for fear of the Jewish leaders, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." After he said this, he showed him his hands and side. The disciples were overjoyed when they saw the Lord. Again Jesus said, "Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, I'm sending you." And with that he breathed on them and said, "Receive the Holy Spirit. If you forgive anyone's sins, their sins are forgiven. If you do not forgive them, they are not forgiven." Now Thomas, also known as Didymus, one of the 12, was not with the disciples when Jesus came. So the other disciples told him, "We have seen the Lord." But he said to them, "Unless I see the nail marks in his hands, and put my finger where the nails were, and put my hand into his side, I will not believe." A week later, his disciples were in the house again, and Thomas was with them. Though the doors were locked, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." Then he said to Thomas, "Put your finger here, see my hands. Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Stop doubting and believe." Thomas said to him, "My Lord and my God." Then Jesus told him, "Because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed." Jesus performed many other signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not recorded in this book. But these are written that you may believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name. 3 things I would like to mention about this gospel. One I already talked about, being sent. Among other things, Jesus was sent to show us how to love. And I know that most of us, me including, are not the best when it comes to love. And most of us want to know what love is and want somebody else to show us. But still, no matter what level we think we are on when it comes to love, we can still show it to somebody from what we've learned, from what we've experienced, and from what is our default state from the very beginning. I now remembered a meme I once saw on Facebook. It said that nobody is really worthless. You can always serve as a bad example. If you've been hurt in a particular way, you are able to empathize with those who have been hurt like that too, or you will know how not to act or what not to say so that you don't hurt other people. Or if you've overcome your fears, some of your fears, like fear of intimacy, for example, you'll be able to help some people who are not there yet. One way or another, there is no excuse. There is no excuse to stay at home because you can always go out, you can always leave that room of fear and give something to somebody else. Number 2, experience. Thomas refused to be a Sunday Catholic in a sense that he would go to church, say something he doesn't believe in and doesn't understand, then go back to his life and lead his life his own way. He wanted the experience and was given the experience. And I think it's really valuable to take after him that approach of not accepting some commonplace statements, some slogans, just because somebody repeats them, but really check them. Really check if what you believe in is true. Does it really lead to healing, or is it a form of escape? But then we have number 3. You can choose to believe in something first and then hope the experience will follow. Ever heard about the study that showed that even a fake smile can spur chemicals into your brain producing dopamine and serotonin? Even though that was not the experience of happiness that produced the chemicals, but a fake smile, the brain was still tricked into believing that that's what's happening. Now, I don't encourage you to self-manipulate. I don't encourage you to believe that you are happy, healthy, everything is going fine in work and in relationships when that's not the case. But I do encourage you to stop doubting that it's possible. To stop doubting and believe. To believe that one day your wounds, all that pain that you are perhaps feeling at the moment, will turn into scars. If you're a guy, you'll be proud of them. If you're a woman, it will add some character. As the book of Ecclesiastes say, there is a time for everything. There is a time to be in pain, to not run away from it, to process it. But there is also a time to stop clinging to that pain and start believing that one day all that pain will turn into scars that won't be scary. Imitating Christ doesn't come down only to experiencing your suffering in the most loving way. It also means being a person who has been through suffering and now has glorious scars. More about the scars this Sunday, 10 p.m. Central European Time. Bye-bye.